Hello, my name is Mark Stickells. I'm the Executive Director of the Pawsey Supercomputing Research Centre.
And hello, my name is Pascal and Mark. I'm a supercomputing application specialist at Pawsey.
My name is Elahi and I lead Pawsey's digital engagement. I'm here today to talk about Green HPC within the Pawsey Supercomputing Research Centre. So to dive right in, can we talk about the Centre's experience in Green HPC?
So I think while the term might not have been coined when Pawsey was established on its current site in 2013, 2014, we definitely had green credentials in the planning and design of our facility. So from a geothermal cooling solution that was very novel and still novel at the time and still in operation to today, to the design of the building with dual skin insulation, solar panels to help power the geothermal infrastructure, and building management information systems to help monitor energy use and efficiency of a system. I think right from the time we were established, we were conscious of the preciousness of water as a resource and our consumption of energy as an intensive facility. I think the notion of now of green HPC is a wider appreciation of the impact that we can have in reducing our carbon footprint and supporting all of the scientific domains that we support. And some of these scientific domains are becoming very much consumers or directing consumption of their resources in ways that demand us to change and to be very conscious of our green credentials. So I think it's a positive move and something we're doing a lot here at Pawsey.
From a user perspective and also even sort of the outside perspective, it wasn't necessarily clear that some places were energy efficient or not, but that is definitely starting to change, right? The landscape has changed. We've got the Green 500. And so people are really interested in knowing about the technology and also the fact that we're trying to drive the energy consumption of computing centers down and to become more efficient in our compute. So it's not just Pawsey, but it's really good to see Pawsey really trying to put a step forward to tell everybody, hey, we are actually trying to do stuff efficiently, and not just because we're trying to save money, but also, yes, it is greener to do this. We were trying to do green compute, efficient compute.
Yeah. It's not just about the research. Sorry, it's not just about some of the research we may do that supports climate and novel energy and so on, but it's becoming part of our own strategy as a facility to be as green as we can be in terms of our carbon footprints and the efficiency of our system and operations. So yeah, really good.
Nice. So it's really good to see that prioritization with the environment, not just efficiencies. So what are we doing? So we started off with the geothermal stuff to efficiently cool our systems, but we've started to put on the floor Photonics. That's about 30 times more powerful than its predecessors, Magnet and Galaxy. With greater power, what does that equate to in terms of the energy consumption and our green priorities with a more powerful supercomputer?
So it is clear that the new system will consume more energy, but it was important when we made the investment decision that we had specific criterion for efficiency and energy consumption, improvements in energy consumption as a selection criterion. So in evaluating all of the tenders, this was one of the reasons that the Photonics architecture was selected, was the significant improvements in energy efficiency. So a genuine sort of step change for us. So with almost a 30-fold increase in performance, with about a 50% increase in our energy consumption, we are producing significantly more efficient a watts per flop type of calculation, flops per watt type of calculation that I think is going to benefit the performance of Pawsey. And I think we're also working with experts like Pascal in order to optimize the code. This is not just a brute force exercise. It's also better designed code, better designed, if you like, science, so that you're using the systems in the most efficient way.
It's very impressive, right? So we've chosen excellent technology. AMD is keen to also trumpet their horns for the energy efficient compute they're producing with GPUs and CPUs, but just providing the hardware is just the first step. And we're really having a couple of programs like Pacer to try to make use of that hardware. So we want to have the most efficient hardware. We also want to make sure that we really endeavor to help people run their codes efficiently on our system. So we just get, people get better science. So they run the simulation maybe with half as much compute as they used to, and that half as much as compute used even less power.
Nice. So that's a really good segue into my next question that I had for you. So we're learning a lot with helping our researchers and being more efficient and developing in efficient ways so that they're using the supercomputers better. At the same time, we're refreshing our infrastructure at Pawsey and making sure that it, from a green perspective, we're doing the best that we can. So in those assessments, when we were doing this refresh and when we're working with researchers, there would have been successes and learnings that we would have found around green HPC and how to be better or better things to do. Can you name some of these successes or learnings that you found in your process?
So I can certainly comment on the success of trying to get people to think about compute, because it's very true that if you're a researcher, right, you have an entire suite of things you have to do, your science, maybe supervision, teaching, et cetera, as a researcher in a university. And so code development is, you might really want to try to do efficient compute, but you may not have the time. And so I think success is actually one of the programs we launched, which was PACER, which is specifically to help people learn how to do HPC well and also do science. So co-funded positions, which also push the team that are developing these codes and running these simulations to be like, we now can actually afford to spend some time making compute efficient, doing larger simulations, getting to our science results faster, but also greener. And I think we're not the only center that's launched these type of initiatives, but I think this is a real success.
I think that seeing Pawsey now as part of a precinct, so if I get elevated to the level of Pawsey as an organization, we start thinking of the other buildings and infrastructure around us and whether we can contribute some of our potential waste heat to new facilities. Clearly, that sort of thinking and that sort of understanding of our infrastructure and the way the services can be seen as part of a continuum rather than waste or just to be offset in some perhaps an accounting way. We're actively investing in some novel research projects and scoping studies in 2022. So it's not just what the compute does, but I think we're also investing in whether we can look at hydrogen and battery fuel cells and other novel infrastructure to help ourselves as a facility and be a good citizen in the precinct that we're in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So on that, as a user, why is it important to be working with and doing research at a green HPC supercomputing center? So
there's actually also just interest in a lot of different communities to reduce their carbon footprint. And if you're having a community that uses computing, then it can be a very non-negligible portion of the carbon footprint of the community. So they're actively interested in just saying, well, we want to try to do more sustainable, essentially research. And that's true. You can just see that in the papers that are being published. Like there are several papers specifically just saying the sustainability, how do you do sustainable astronomy? So they were looking at telescopes, supercomputing, et cetera. The goal of a lot of this stuff, and hopefully, it's percolating through the user community saying, listen, perhaps you're not interested in spending the time to do super efficient compute, but if you can spend a little bit of time and we can assist you, you can do more science as well. So that's also the key thing, right? You get a double whammy, right? You get efficient compute, so your carbon footprint goes down, and also you get to do more science faster, hopefully, right? And to me, that's very much a win-win, right? There's no downside to that other than you do have to invest a bit of your time and possibly the developer's time and our time, but we're here to help in updating codes and making use of new technologies. But since there's motivation to do this, I think it's, especially in the user community, I think it's going to go well, and I think they're very keen to keep pushing forward.
I should acknowledge you, Pascal. I know you've put your intellectual money where your mouth is on this. You have published and you've questioned in your own scientific domain, and so I think give you credit for perhaps leading the way in some of this. And I think you'll see more and more of that. The digital and science infrastructure of the world is relying very heavily on systems like we have. Understanding how that we operate those in as a green and as an efficient way as possible goes to our sort of social license to operate, goes to our own obligations as citizens of a fragile planet. We've been at the absolute forefront as a community in responding to a pandemic, putting the compute resources and supporting brilliant scientific minds across around the world. We face a similar challenge when it comes to our climate, and we want to be as much a part of the solution as we are in our own way contributing to the problem. So
I actually really like what you said, Mark. Like, I think you come at it from a couple of perspectives between yourself and Pascal, which is really good. Like, you've got the user perspective, you've got the priorities about being more efficient with your research, making sure that ethically as a person, you're working with the right place. But then as a supercomputing center as well, we've got this one part of us that, yes, is enabling science and research, but we still have this social responsibility to make sure that in doing that, we're doing the best that we can as people that work behind the center and as a center itself, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Because there's a lot that's going on in the world at the moment about the ethics behind massive centers and data centers and those sorts of things, and to make sure that we're doing the right thing in a place that we do have a larger footprint than, like a standard business. It's really important to address that social responsibility and the user responsibility and our green responsibility as well. Yeah. And
we are, in relative terms, a modestly sized centre. I think we're doing some really cool science, and some of our support, obviously, to globally significant projects like the SKA may be only modest in terms of the energy consumption compared to some of our bigger industries. But that doesn't mean that we can't innovate, show breakthroughs in ways that can be applied and scaled to other sectors. So I think we've got a great opportunity ahead of us.
Absolutely. Fantastic. That sounds really good. All right. Well, that I think that kind of summarizes really well what Pawsey is doing as a green HPC center, our efforts, our priorities, and what we hold ourselves responsible for as well. So thank you both for joining me today.